Mr. Zyxm's front door was unlocked, as usual. Sadie had told him more than once to lock it, but he never bothered. "I can handle myself," he'd always say. Weird old man. He was probably working on his ancient Ford. She wasn't sure if it was a Model T or not, but it was ancient. His house was musty, with plastic draped over furniture and ceramic plates behind glass, almost generically old. "They delivered your mail to me again," she called through the front door. Silence. He must be in the back. She walked down the hall as a migraine formed. She was got a headache coming here. This one had phantom lights dancing on her retinas. His kitchen was spotless as usual, clinically so. Dust never had a chance to settle in his rarely used dining room. It was all the same as ever. He wouldn't even know he lived there if she wasn't getting his mail. One day, above a barren little world, a massive satellite appeared. It was purple and red and green and made of divine metal that shined perfectly in the glow of the young star. The satellite hovered above the world, and bright things hovered with it. They gave it direction, and that direction changed something fundamental on the barren little world. "I'm in the garage, Sadie." The back screen door was open, so she followed his voice out. He was working on his Ford, no surprise. The jarring red, green, and purple paint job was hard to look at. The lines the green made were all at odd angles to the rest of it, made her migraine worse. "Here," she handed it to him. He looked it over carefully, frowning for the first time since she'd known him. "Are you sure this is mine?" he said, looking up at her from the oddly blue paper. "Is there another K. Zyxm on this street?" she thought. She thought to herself, who sends blue letters? He gave her a smile as he opened the neon blue envelope. The same weird color scheme of his car covered the paper. He stared at it and seemed tired. "I think I'm going away," was all he said after putting eyes on the paper. "What do you mean?" "I'm needed back home." He sighed. She had tried to guess where he was from. The name had struck her as Russian, but she could never place his accent. Sadie felt like he didn't belong here. She couldn't place why the thought kept occurring to her. God. "Not good news, I take it. Where is home for you, anyway?" "Very far away," he replied mournfully. The bright things hovered, watching as the world turned below them, millennia into millennia into millennia, waiting as it grew into something vibrant. One of their part moved closer, like a neon green and white meteor. Too close, and the world was barren once more. The other lights were angered by it. The neon blue thing tossed it with undoing the damage. They left it alone with the cosmic machine and went out into the wider stars. "Don't get along with your family?" Sadie asked, leaning against the dirty garage wall. "I used to." He sat on the driver's seat, leaning out the door. "I hurt people a long time ago. It was an accident. It was awful. They left me alone till I made good." She stood up from the wall. She wasn't surprised in the slightest. Why wasn't she surprised? They just abandoned you? Sadie had been left before, a long time ago. "They were right to," he said. "I was angry at first, but they needed me to learn, to not be so rash, to make good." The neon green thing came to rest on the broken world. It raged with terrible cosmic power. The damage it had done grew worse. Things broke and bent in strange ways. The world cracked under its remorse, its anger, its guilt. The machine stood silent above neon green, floating beyond the atmosphere and waiting. "It's still cruel to just abandon you like that." "Maybe." He leaned to the driver's seat. He was staring at nothing. He felt so old in that moment, fragile and tired like no one she'd ever met before. Her migraine was pounding. Did you ever make up for it? Whatever it was. The car made it worse. Like the paint job was crushing her brain. Hadn't it been a Ford before? Didn't seem like it now. "I don't really know." He leaned forward into the wheel, bundling his arms through it as he sat, his chin on his fists. "I thought I did before, a bit ago." Neon green bled raw power. It screamed, not with a voice, but with instability as its form glowed with terrible light. The world churned and broke. Nascent continents were obliterated. Shards broke the volcanic atmosphere and fell to orbit. Neon green sat, motionless for millennia, as the planet rocked and settled around it. The machine silently watched. The world would still itself in time. Neon green took the machine to a moon that had formed from cast-off pieces of its tantrum and prepared to begin again. But the universe sort of threw me a curveball. He was still staring ahead through the glass? Plastic? Yeah. The windscreen looked wrong in a way Sadie couldn't place. Just wish I hadn't screwed up in the first place. You sound like a kid, Sadie laughed, harder than she expected. She was feeling lightheaded. Not really in a laughing mood, my friend, Zyxm pouted. From its seat on the moon, Neon Green worked. They spent years stabilizing the world, repairing the damage they had done, before beginning to encourage subtle growth. Microscopic things crawled in primordial fluid, and slowly they grew. People screw up all the time. You've just got to do your best and move forward. Sadie's headache was coming and going like a phone signal through a tunnel. It hurt, but it didn't bother her. She hated migraines, but she never remembered getting one before. Ever. Yes, people make mistakes all the time, Zyxm said. An asteroid had entered the system. Neon Green stopped it dead, noting its composition and trajectory. It would collide with the planet they had been nurturing, a planet that had grown stagnant in its development. It had the possibility to trigger a permanent change in the dominant forms of life on the world, a chance to complete its goal. The rock devastated the world like Neon Green had before, but on such a smaller scale. Life still existed under the devastation, and slowly began to thrive. So you gonna see them? She pressed. We're so long now, I'm still not sure what they'll think of my attempts at. He leaned back in the seat. Restitution. Only way to know is to see them. She leaned over the open door. I'm sure they'll forgive you. You've been a lovely neighbor these past... She lived in her apartment for 5 years now. When had she met him? Had she taken his mail to him? She'd gotten his more than once, hadn't she? She couldn't remember anything outside of the neon blue envelope he had discarded, watching her from the floor. It's kind of you to say, he smiled at nothing. But I'm not sure if I ever really made up for it. He looked at her as she stared distantly, like things had come undone somewhere within her, like things were stitching themselves back together around her. I tried, I hope, but I don't know if time is told yet. Still so many moving parts. Say didn't like how he looked at her, like he was seeing through her. You mean your car? She was dazed, like she was moving through a glass maze that kept shifting, but Zyxm and his car were always in sharp focus. She was in sharp focus, but she wasn't like everything else in the garage. She felt small and fading. You're going. Soon. Aren't you? She mumbled. Neon Green watched the world change. Life grew, life died. Species began to vie for dominance, and over the span of time, a small one began to rise to prominence. They began to use tools and found the beginnings of agriculture, the spark of intelligent life. After billions of years, he had made it right. And then it went wrong. Zyxm led her to the front of his house. She was wobbly, but she'd make it home fine. She'd be perfectly healthy in just a moment, if she could make it out the door. Go have a rest. You'll feel better when you wake up, he said. It doesn't matter if you failed. What matters is you tried to make it right, she slurred. The words as she stumbled into the grass, and then she felt fine, as if something had stopped spinning and she was on still ground. It matters you tried. Sadie didn't know why she had said that. It was something she'd forgotten. She was standing on the dirt in the empty lot next door. She could think of no earthly reason why. Neon Green watched as they murdered each other, burning across whole continents. Some of the species tried to make things right, only for the carnage to begin again. And then came a message from beyond. They were calling him home. Had he failed? Was this world too much like him? Perhaps he could meet one, just for a few minutes. Long enough to see. Just to see. Thank you.